Now, in the last couple of episodes, we've had some sound errors, but I assure you that won't happen.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of Ding. I am Darth Kcaj. I'm joined here by Dr. Fox, expert in all things MMO.
Yes, and this is our second recording of the third episode.
My bad.
No, it's continuing our audio professionalism. We've done a fantastic job in the first two episodes. We just had to completely one-up ourselves on the third episode by just not recording an entire half of it.
Look, it's a good mistake to make because you don't make it again. Today, we are going to be talking about a game that's quite close to my heart, well, at least a franchise that is very close to my heart. The game, judgment's still out on the game, but we're going to be talking about Star Wars: The Old Republic. Now, this game is, it's been around for a little while now, recently been revamped with a couple of additional DLCs and campaign expansion, is that correct?
Yeah.
We, as for a change of pace, both jumped in this game instead of the usual method of myself just watching Fox play through and talking through it. We both jumped in, made the free accounts, because it is free to play, and gave it a spin. And we came up with some conclusions from that experience.
Yeah. All right, which conclusion would you like to draw first?
Just straight up, coming into the game, I have to say that some of the opening cutscenes, the pre-rendered stuff, is astonishing. It's really well made. Even for the time, how old is this game now?
Came out in 2011. 2012 for Australia.
2012. Wow, a whole year. They made us wait. Even a game that came out in 2012, the opening cutscenes are still quite good. The pre-rendered stuff is still like, the models are pretty good. The choreographed action sequences are pretty good. But to me, that actually had a negative effect because you come from an opening scene, which is like a huge battle scene, you know, with hundreds of troopers fighting these Sith Lords. You've got Jedi fighting, and it was quite action-packed, but then once you get in-game, it's quite a different experience.
Yeah, we'll include those pre-rendered cutscenes in there, but yes, when you come out of that, the graphics are not impressive. They're a little bit... They tried to go for a timeless look, but I think they didn't quite hit World of Warcraft's timeless look. They went for a little bit cartoonier so that it wouldn't age too poorly, but I feel like they were a little bit off the mark.
Not only in the graphics department, but also just in the in-game story, the particular classes that we picked, we were set coming into a battle scene. So basically we were hot dropped into a combat zone. And I never saw more than 4 or 5 NPCs on the screen at any given time, really. Like, in some instances you had a bigger battle where there might have been up to 10 NPCs fighting, but for the majority of the first 45 minutes of gameplay, I don't think I was ever in combat with more than 3 or 4 NPCs at the same time.
Yeah, and none of the NPCs were really engaged with more than that many as well.
So I just feel like they had this idea, but they couldn't quite execute it. I don't know whether that was to the limitations of the software or the hardware or the servers, or just the limitations of the development and the budget that they had with the game. I don't know, but it was quite underwhelming coming into that.
I don't think it was a budgetary limitation, because this is one of the most developmentally expensive games ever made.
Wow.
They never officially disclosed how much it cost to make, but based on estimates, it's right up there.
It's quite unfortunate that they went to a free-to-play model then, because how are they ever going to think about recouping that? Like, if it went so quickly to an unpaid subscription, ugh.
They were definitely banking on the Star Wars franchise name, as well as the goodwill that they generated with gamers for the Knights of the Old Republic series.
Speaking of the free-to-play model, even though it's advertised as free-to-play, that wasn't quite the case.
No.
That we found after going up the initial levels.
If I were to bring in an analogy here, paying for the subscription is like riding a bicycle. Going free to play is like riding a bicycle without the seat and being forced to sit down.
Accurate. That is very true.
We weren't even allowed to sprint. Like, we weren't allowed to use the fast movement that you get at the start of the game. We were declined some quest rewards.
Yep.
And we were missing content.
And it wasn't necessarily, here, welcome to the game, this is all the stuff we have to offer, so you should definitely, entice us into having that subscription or dishing out the cash for the subscription. There was no enticement. It was more of, hey, we're notably making this inconvenient for you to play without the subscription, so you should really buy that product. I think that's the wrong way to go about it if you want to be maintaining that goodwill and not peeve off your potential customers.
Yeah.
But look, it's getting a pretty bad rap, but it wasn't all bad. I mean, for one thing, they did get some things right. I mean, I think the music in particular was nailed right on the head.
John Williams.
Oh, fantastic mixture of John Williams soundtracks, both the original 4, 5, and 6 soundtrack, as well as the 1, 2, and 3 soundtrack in places, plus a host of new stuff that was also composed just for the game. And I think it meshed well. It built the environment out. It added to what might have lacked in the number of characters on the screen, or the sparsity of the locations and environments was definitely added to with the music. I think that definitely helped give it the Star Wars feel and touch. So that was good.
Yeah, it was undeniably Star Wars through the audio.
And the voice acting was good too in that account. Like I was quite impressed by and I guess that's sort of the budget shining through a bit there. But it was definitely high quality voice acting, and I was quite able to easily believe that all the characters had belief in what they were saying themselves.
Yeah, a lot of the characters might have looked quite similar to each other, but the voices were distinct, and the actors did do a fantastic job with it.
BioWare really fell back to their classic black and white moral choice dialogue and quest progression system.
Light and dark side, man.
That's it. And I guess it is the correct setting. I mean, you are literally in the Star Wars world where there is the light side and the dark side. So it does make sense to make it polarizing, I guess. But I still think, everyone says that every time a BioWare game comes out, everyone says that it's very harsh on either one end of the spectrum and there's not much middle ground,
Yeah.
I think at one point there was an option to help a person with the medicine they needed or threaten a kid to get what you wanted.
And you threatened the kid, of course.
If you're going to go out there, be something that you wouldn't normally be.
You monster. You child-threatening monster. There was another child, and I was just waiting for you to threaten that one, but you didn't get the option.
No, and I think it was because it was on your quest line.
No. That was a shared quest line. To bring some context to that, you are given an individual story in this game just for your class, and you can take it in any direction you want that they give you. And there are quests out in the overworld that for everybody. So Kcaj was playing as a trooper. I was playing as a smuggler. And we were questing together. We would jump into each other's quest lines occasionally. But when we were in those overworld quests, like the one we were just discussing about child threatening, we both roll for whoever talks in the conversation, and that's the direction we go with it. But say if I chose a light side thing and he chose a dark side thing, and the dark side roll 1, I still get my light side points.
So you can sort of cooperatively complete these progressions, but also still maintain that individual spin. If you don't want to necessarily have your character affiliated with the dark side, you don't have to. But that just might be the particular direction the narrative goes from your perspective.
Yeah, from the party.
The cooperative gameplay was actually quite good. Like, they've done it in a really clever way. Because as a trooper, I may not necessarily get to see what happens in the smuggler classes and what happens in their storyline. But the cooperative gameplay allows me to kind of participate in your quests and vice versa. So you do get a sort of a more fuller experience through that method of playing, which I think it was good. And I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think that this game, as a competitive MMO, like a competitor to, say, World of Warcraft, which, it shares a genre and a lot of aspects with, I think it hasn't quite succeeded. But as a single player or co-op experience, I think it has done a fantastic job.
Although one thing that did kind of, even though we were working together and we were sort of fighting off enemy units, and it was kind of fun to play together in that sense and bounce off each other's abilities. For example, my trooper class had some particularly powerful offensive abilities. I think your class is more focused on using the cover system in the game and some evasion tactics. But one thing that did kind of stick out to me was the very grindy nature of the combat.
Well, I guess you don't play that many MMOs, do you?
Well, I don't. I'm the MMO newbie. Well, from your perspective, then, what did you think?
You are right. The RPG element of like collect 10 rat tails or go hunt down 20 of these guys is very present and very old school in this game. A lot of other MMOs these days are shaking it up with like, say, fill a bar to do this thing, although really they're just still killing like 10 things. Or they're trying to make it more interesting, like giving you assistance to do it. This one is very old school. It's just you or your mate just going through, killing 10 of these guys, or if you want to, you can do the bonus part and say kill 25 of these guys.
Yeah.
As you go through these overly large rooms and overly large spaces to get to the next quest or the quest hand in.
And look, I understand that grinding is a quintessential part of the genre.
Well, it doesn't have to be quintessential. It just happens to be a major part of RPGs. No one's really shaken it up enough.
Yeah, but I leveled, what do we get to? Level 10? Level 13? I would have gone through those first 10 levels and I would have only needed one attack. And I was never at any point in danger of dying, or I didn't feel that I was ever in danger of dying.
It gets a bit more intense later on in the game, but where you were in early game, it's not a good first impression to be getting.
Well, it's not. It just sort of, it gives you the impression that you're there to wait through all these battles, because, you know, you can just sit there spamming the hotkey for your attack or whatever. And, I mean, I would have only ever been in low health. I can't even recall if I was ever at low health, really.
No, I recall we were never at low health. I never got to use my heals.
And there's no strategy involved. Like, I had a couple of different attacks, but once I figured out that I can still just use the same attack and kill all the enemies just as fast, then, you know, that kind of killed a little bit for me. So maybe there was times later in the game when you progress through it that your different attacks become relevant. They have certain buffs and debuffs or elemental types that are good against certain enemy classes or something to that effect. But coming into the game, I think that the developers should have really at least hinted at that, because I wasn't getting any sense that that was going to be the case.
Yeah, as someone who's reached endgame, I can assure you it does get better in that sense, but the combat that you're looking for, like doing some like dodging out of the way of things, that just, you know, the action-oriented stuff is not present in this one. Like I said, it's quite old school in how it plays. These days, you've got enemies like attacking in a certain cone. You need to dodge out of that, or need to interrupt a certain thing in the right moment. You know, nothing really interesting throughout the whole game in that sense.
Yeah,
a lot of what we call tank and spank.
Well, that's a real shame, because it's such a rich franchise. It really is, and I think they had a lot of opportunity to really run with it. From just we'll talk about the current stuff. Well, sorry, the original stuff first, and then we'll move on to what the expansions have added to it. But do you think that they kind of wasted the glorious opportunity they'd had with the Old Republic franchise and having access to that IP?
I think they haven't wasted it. I think that they've actually been able to really explore it. And now that it is no longer canon of the greater Star Wars franchise, they can go way further with this stuff.
So they've actually dropped it from official like movie canon, like the main Disney canon.
Yeah, it's now part of the Star Wars legends, as they call it.
Just like all my favorite books.
Yes, but this lets them do what they've been doing in stuff like the latest expansion, where they can just create a whole new empire for both sides to fight against and be involved in, and they don't have to worry about it still making sense 1,000 years later in the story.
Yeah, that's true. And I imagine the Disney storyline canon moderators would be pretty hands-on in that kind of stuff too. So probably dodged a bullet, I guess, really.
Yeah, so I feel that they were already able to explore the Old Republic universe, but now they're much more free to do that. And I think that's to its benefit.
But is it going to help in the long run, really? Like, yes, it's a benefit, but is it going to save the game? It's gone free to play. They didn't get the pull that they needed from the Star Wars name and the Old Republic franchise on it. Now it's openly deviating further away from what is the current official Star Wars canon. Is it too little too late? Is it enough to save this game? Do you think it's got much more of a life in it, or do you think it's only a matter of time before we're seeing the servers switched off for good?
Well, they did lose a lot of players, you're right. But I think at the moment they're focusing on keeping the players they've got by giving the players they've got, their subscribers that they have right now, this kind of stuff they want. See, when people stay with this game, they stay with it because your story is really quite interesting. Like, your character's story is fantastic, and you're going through the greater story as well as your story. You can start relationships with characters, and they continue and develop as throughout the expansions and stuff. So they're giving the people what they want. The reason people are staying with it is because they are getting what they want. But it's not doing a good job of bringing new players in. And if people do get sick of it and want to unsubscribe, they do.
It's interesting that they're still unable to pull in those subscribers, even though Star Wars is such a hot topic and such a strong merchandise right now.
I wouldn't be surprised if it did gain some popularity with Episode 7 coming out. What did you like about the game? What were your favorite parts?
I mean, as I said, I enjoyed the music, I enjoyed the voice acting. I also enjoyed, just because I'm a Star Wars fan at heart, so I can't not enjoy the character designs, like the physical costumes and the weapons, and the locations were very cool, I thought. Very
even though we go back to Tatooine, why always Tatooine?
They can't get away from it. It's for the outpost that's, further away from anything in the galaxy, everyone just seems to be turning up there.
Back to what we were saying.
Yeah, so the environments were very cool. The maps were quite good. I thought that they were well thought out and well designed. Even though they were sparse, the interiors were quite big, I think, as well. Like really high ceilings for a lot of the places. But that's sort of... Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it because it was Star Wars. But if this was some other random story that wasn't associated with Star Wars, I can't say that I would have gotten that much out of it, these locations and characters.
Okay.
What did you enjoy? What was your favourite parts of the game? From a perspective of someone who's finished it as well and reached the end game. I've only played about 45 minutes, then I had to uninstall it because I couldn't stand it. But
to be fair, I reached the original end game, not the years of stuff since. But I really enjoyed the story, the single player story, which is still something I think is a strange thing to say about an MMO. I really enjoyed the single player content of the MMO.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the starfighting sequences, which are again single player, not multiplayer. Where you can go around on rails, Lilac Wars, Star Fox style.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we didn't see any of that when we had our playthrough.
No,
so that's
my ship got stolen.
That's right. That was your smuggler storyline.
The smuggler story. Oh my gosh! And as a man who has played through the smuggler story, that I really enjoy just constantly trying to get your ship back, and then once you get it back, just you find a woman on there, and of course I'm like, well, hello there. What have we here? I like how you can start relationships with characters. That is something that I really want out of World of Warcraft right now. We'll talk about it in our Legion episode, but holy crap, if anybody knows who Thalishra is, oh my goodness, I wish we could start relationships. My smuggler, he would root in anything that moved, and if it didn't move, he'd push it. But yeah, I really enjoyed all that single player stuff. The group content I found was lackluster, and there was too much trash, and the bosses were uninteresting. The choices you can make in the dungeons, like the light and dark side choices, I found them interesting. Like, even though I mostly play light side, I do make dark side choices if I still deem it to be the correct choice. So
okay,
you can, if you want to, just stick to your rigid light side. But I just made sure to enjoy the story my way. To summarize all that, the thing I enjoyed the most about this massively multiplayer online game is the single player content.
That is kind of telling.
Yeah, and I will say, whenever I've played with someone, like I still think while it's the best single player MMO, it's also the best co-op MMO I've played. But once you go past two people, I think it really starts to fall off.
Fox, taking all the introspection we've done here into account, how many hats out of 5 does the Old Republic get?
Whoa, hang on. This one you actually played. So
This is true.
I'm going to let you do the honors and you give me your rating first.
Well, my rating, from a newbie's perspective...
Well, we can't use hats for you, so how many lightsabers are you going to give this one?
That is very relevant. I would have to say, look, if I'm going to be honest, 2 sabers out of 5.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, and it would probably be 1.5 if it wasn't for my love of Star Wars. For the reasons that I highlighted, as cool and as immersive as the environment was, I found that the action that I was doing the most was just the grinding, and it was trying to be, at times it was trying to be something that it wasn't with the scope of the battle scenes and the battlefields, and I don't know, maybe it needed some more time to get into it and enjoy it properly. But to be fair, if you're not catching your players early on, if you need to say just wait, it gets better, then I think that's on you. You got to be responsible for that.
Right. For me, I would say, as a single player game or a co-op game, 4 out of 5 hats.
Oh, nice.
As an MMO, I would have to take it down to 2 or 3, probably 3.
Oh.
Like, it's not a terrible MMO, but it doesn't do an amazing job as an MMO. It's middle ground, just in the middle of the way, just good MMO if you're paying for it.
Yeah.
If you're not paying for it, then that definitely drops down to the 2 or maybe even the 1, depending on just how much you can't stand the paywalls that they've put in. And there are quite a lot.
Well, there you've got it, guys. That's Fox's expert opinion and my newbie opinion. Take that as you will. Star Wars: The Old Republic, a game with a lot of potential, but doesn't quite deliver all the way, depending on what you're looking for.
If you're looking for a single-player game, though, like if you loved Knights of the Old Republic, then you will like The Old Republic.
I think that's just about all we've got time for today.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us today. My name is Darth Kcaj, my co-host and expert, Dr. Fox. Thank you very much for providing your expertise for the show today.
Thank you for providing yours this time. It was very interesting.
Join us next time where we'll be talking about a game that's definitely had a little bit more success, Legion.
Yeah, World of Warcraft Legion. We're going back to World of Warcraft. You got to go back to WoW.
It's got to the stage where you don't need to add the prefix. You just need to say Legion. Everyone knows what you're talking about.
Exactly. And we're going to have a guest this time, Ixui or Geyser. I'll have to ask which one he prefers. He, unlike me, is a hardcore raider. I just do casual raiding, but he does the hardcore stuff. So we're definitely going to be interested to hear his opinion.
And I have 0 experience, so I'm going to be throwing my lot into the mix, and we'll have every spectrum covered.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, guys. As always, pre-order responsibly. What is our other thing?
Microtransactions.
Look out for those microtransactions. And as always,
real life first.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.